Well, it was presenting, the multimedia, what we can call the multimedia works of Chris Marker inside of his gigantic work dealing with writings, filming, photographing, etc. So there are four works which have more or less 3 years incarnated this attempt of dealing with not only one screen, the screen of the cinema or the page of the writer, but the multimedia space of the multiplication of screens and different media. From his first great installation, Zapping Zone, which has been done in 1990 for the exhibition Passage de l'Image, till his last installation, The Hollow Man, at the 2005, which was created for the Museum of Modern Art in New York, and which is completely different work. Oh, because I've been interested by Chris Marker since the 60s, as a film, when he was mainly a filmmaker, at the time of films like Letter from Siberia or Description of a Struggle on Israel. And I've been writing as a journalist at the time, and after that more as a theoretician on his work all my life long, because I've always considered he was a very unique character. Maybe he's one of the rare, like Michael Snow, who Marianne Duguay presented this morning, who is a musician, photographer, filmmaker, etc. Chris Marker is a really very plural artist. He has been dealing with all type of tools of creation, if I can say, from just the simple writing to the most sophisticated use of digital technologies. So it's the reason for which I've been mainly a film theoretician, but attracted also by the different types of images, which I have called the l'entre-image in French, between the images, which mean the connection between film, video, photography, and further computer images and digital images. So Marker has been very exemplary at this level. So it's the reason for which I've been so interested in his work all my life long, and I've been writing a lot about his work. Oh, when I created our set in the 60s, it was, we were in Lyon, in the French province, and we wanted to create a film magazine which would be a little bit different, because we were interested by the notion of dealing with film, but with a connection with a type of writing which could be assimilated partly to essay, literature, etc. So it was, we had this magazine during 1 year, and because after that there was no more money, but we made 3 beautiful issues, and the first one mainly, which was devoted to those groups of people to which Marker was one of them. And it was Alain Resnais, Armand Gatti, Agnès Varda, Henri Colpi, Jean Quérol, and Chris Marker, representing a sort of, how to say that shortly, I would say an essayistic way to deal with cinema more than with simple fiction, and at another level to be politically deeply engaged as leftists and people dealing with humanism in general and revolutionary perspective, opposed in this way to what was the Nouvelle Vague, the new wave, which were more traditional in terms of political content. Oh, this is a big book project which I've called The Body of Cinema, in which I've developed 3 entries to try to build a sort of general view or theory, if we want, of cinema. In one way, the connection between the phenomenon of cinema and the phenomenon of hypnosis, and the way they could be articulated historically and aesthetically, cinema being a sort of hypnosis. There is a wonderful sentence of Alain Resnais saying that the only aim of a filmmaker is to plunge the spectator in the hypnotic state and to keep him for all the length of the film, So this was one issue of the book. The second issue was to try to set up the way in which we are submitted in the film viewing to many and many and many emotions. But I didn't want to work on traditional emotion as fear, anxiety, or things like that, but more subtle emotion which are linked with the intensity, the rhythm, the color, all the formal components of the image. For example, if you take the example of painting, that if you take the painting of the Virgin in the history of painting, it's more interesting to be interested in the fold of the gown of the Virgin than to the image of the Virgin herself, you know. So it was really to deal with the deep detail of the images and the connection between the shots. And this having a link with the way by which the spectator is hypnotized, if I can say with brackets, you know. And the third level is the animality level, because the spectator, which is plunged in the hypnotic state with a lot of brackets, and which is also dealing with the prey of all those emotions, is a sort of animal, you know. And it is also a way to deal with the extraordinary connection which has been all along the history of cinema, being have existed between cinema and animal just through the representation of animals. You know, it's just crazy to think that in between 1930 and 1940 you have 300 films dealing with dogs. I mean, it has been a constant theme, and it's just not just at the level of the theme, but because there is something deeper which connects the animal body with the cinema body, if I can say. In the past, cinema was a major art. Today, it's still important as an art, but it's a minor phenomenon. If you see the way in which cinema is competed by all types of images possible, you know, from the computer to the gallery to the art, etc., etc. So, in a way, when we have created the magazine Traffic, we searched on it 20 years ago, the idea was to put together all the signs which could be linked with the art of cinema as it will still develop, but knowing that cinema will be no more this major phenomenon that it had been all along the 20th century. That's clear. But what is interesting is that our life of spectator has not lowered in a way, because there are still many good films produced all over the world in many countries, including Colombia. You know, that's really an important fact. And we want to believe in the future of cinema, even if we are perpetually threatened by the death of cinema. Well, I think it's important for the country. I mean, to testify that even in countries considered as minor countries, a major event could happen. This is clearly an important thing for the country and for the images in general.